Can I, a person in recovery, take ketamine as part of my own progress? Who can I ask? I know. Let's pay a visit to Scott Shannon, the foremost expert on psychedelics for addiction. In today's video, we're interviewing Scott Shannon, MD, the founder of the Psychedelic Research and Training Institute. He is a leading expert in his field with a depth of knowledge and experience, including former president of the American Holistic Medical Association. He's a principal investigator for MAPS in the MDMA trials for post-traumatic stress disorder. He has authored 4 books on mental health and parenting and published in numerous articles. He is also the founder of the Wholeness Center in Fort Collins, Colorado.
It's a little bit ironic that we're thinking about a substance like ketamine, which can be abused, and certainly there are people that get into addictive or destructive relationships with ketamine.
As an experienced licensed therapist and a person now in long-term recovery, I had a history of misusing many substances. With that said, the number of times that I use ketamine is probably in the single digits. This new therapeutic model is vastly different than using ketamine recreationally as a party drug.
Because ketamine has this ability to take us out of our sort of current mind and our current mindset and give us a view of our lives in perspective, it's really useful for helping people that are stuck.
And who is more stuck than someone caught in the vicious cycle of addiction? And how does getting unstuck work? My favorite metaphor in how this works is offered by renowned psychedelic researcher out of London, Robin Carhart-Harris. He describes the mind as like a ski slope, and the more people that ski down it, the deeper the grooves become and the harder it is to ski around them. Our brains work in the same way if we replace skiers with our habitual or learned thoughts. Ketamine has the ability to help shake up the snow globe, creating uncharted pathways for new thought patterns to form. Nothing better than a powder day.
Recent studies, for example, one out of Colombia in the last month or two, shows that people that are abusively drinking, if they have some episodes of supportive psychoeducation and 1 episode of a ketamine infusion, they're able to substantially and significantly decrease their abusive drinking.
And what are episodes of psychoeducation, you ask? They are sessions with an expert explaining the therapeutic process to the client. And a ketamine session? When the client actually takes the ketamine under the supervision of the expert.
Not because there's any chemical effect like an anabuse that makes people sick when they try to drink, but it really is because they've seen in sort of better perspective than they ever could that drinking is destructive to them, and why would they do that? It's just this moment of insight and common sense that helps people to see their addictive patterns.
In the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a chapter titled The Doctor's Opinion, which states, unless there is an entire psychic change, there's little hope for recovery. So what Scott is saying is that ketamine may help with supporting this psychic change when facilitated in a safe, controlled manner.
Those circumstances would be someone who's been dealing quite a bit with psychosis and don't appear to be well grounded in reality. I think people that are acutely manic and are not making good decisions.
Psychosis, also known as psychotic or out of touch with reality, is pretty self-explanatory. However, the phrase acutely manic may need some clarification. Now, you may have heard of the term bipolar disorder. It's part of that. I'm not just talking about someone who has high energy. Add qualities like inflated self-esteem, decreased need for sleep for days, extremely talkative with a constant stream of ideas. You get the picture.
We would have the guidelines that we want someone, like in our MDMA study, we want someone to have their drinking under control for 30 to 60 days. So they at least have some stability in their lives. And so the last thing we want really is someone coming into a ketamine-supported psychotherapy session in which they're acutely intoxicated because they're not able to manage that sort of day-to-day, at least to some degree. If someone has a substance abuse issue that feels like they're not in sort of solid recovery, then I think it's possible that ketamine could help them achieve more insight, more internal resources, and more coping skills to manage the next steps in their recovery. I think that's something that we have to weigh the risks and benefits. If someone is in long-term recovery and they're looking to do continued personal growth and have some sort of clear ideas of what they want to gain and some motivation around that, I think that ketamine can be a very useful adjunct to continue their process of healing and growing. I think if someone was in long-term recovery from ketamine abuse, which is actually quite rare in this country, it's much more common in China, it might give me pause and some hesitation about reintroducing ketamine. But I think for the more commonly encountered things such as cocaine, methamphetamine, alcohol, I think it probably is a very reasonable adjunct to long-term recovery.
To learn more about Scott Shannon and the Psychedelic Research and Training Institute and the Wholeness Center, please see the links below.